Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make some GIFs. There's lots of types of GIFs, but the most simple kinds are just moving an object with a background. So I've got a background layer and an object here in the foreground. The first step is to create your layers here, but you'll see that I've got this second set of layers that are just the frames for the animation. They're down here. If you don't see this, it's called the timeline, and it's just up here. Window, timeline. So if you uncheck it, it goes away. If you check it, it comes back up. You may get something that looks like this, and it shows both of your layers. What you want to do is click on these three little squares right here, and that makes a keyframe animation or frame animation. But you want to get to that, get this little timeline going, and then you can start making your animation. So this is pretty simple. You just create another layer or another frame, and then you move the object. So I'm using the move tool. I'm going to move it down a little bit. I'm going to make another layer and then move it again. Another layer, move again. Another layer, move again. Another layer, move again. Another layer, move again. And what it does is you can have it loop. Oh, right now it's on 5 seconds. So I'm going to hold Shift, click this first one, and then I'm going to hold Shift, and then click this last one. I'm going to change the time that each of these shows up. So now I'm going to play it. So it kind of creates a little animation there. I can also change how long it loops. So usually people have endless looping GIFs, so it's just thing like this. You can slow it down. I'm going to do the Shift click thing again right here, and there we go. So that's the first frame animation, where you just have one layer and all you're doing is just moving that layer around. So you actually see whenever I move it, this number 2, if I move it over here, it moves it on the frame there. So that's the first type, is just using the move tool to move something around the screen and creating a frame animation. The second type is a little bit more complex. It looks like this. So you see how the head is kind of rotating as it bounces. It's same concept, it's just a little bit more in depth. So it bounces and rotates. So I'm going to show you how to do that. First, you want to clear out. You may have multiple layers, but you really just need this one at first, and then you're going to need to create all these layers with the individual adjustments made. So it's a little bit more tedious, but it creates a cool effect. Oops, I meant to throw it away. So here. So same thing, background layer here. You are going to move it, but you're going to do it after you've made a copy of it. So I'm going to make a copy, and then I'm going to move it, and then I'm going to Command T or Control T, and I'm going to rotate it a little bit. So I'm just going to rotate it like 20 degrees, hit Enter, Command J to duplicate the layer, move it again, Command T again, rotate it again 20 degrees, hit Enter, Control J, move, Control T to transform, rotate it 20, Enter, Command J, move. This one may 20 may be looking weird, but there we go. Hit Enter, Command J, move it back up, rotate, Enter, Control J, move again. So each time I'm creating my keyframes essentially, or my frames. I just have to do a corresponding layer for each frame. But first I'm just making these layers. So maybe one more time here, rotate it like that. That's going to be good enough. So you see I've got all these visible, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn them all off, just like that. And then I'm going to make another frame, and it just duplicates what's visible. So I'm going to change what's visible to this next frame, make a new frame, turn off this layer, turn on this layer, new frame, turn that layer off, turn this one on, new frame, and you can see how it's kind of making a little animation there. So this type of animation is a little bit more complex because you've got to have a corresponding layer for each new frame here. But it can create a kind of cool effect. And then you just turn it on and it plays. So those are the simplest types of GIFs to make. Once you've made your GIF, you know, you can adjust how long it takes to play. You can make it really fast or a little slower. But GIFs like this are pretty simple and straightforward. The next thing you need to do is save your file as a gift. So a GIF, not a gift. A gift to the internet. So you're going to go to File, and you can't just save. I mean, you can save your Photoshop document, which is a good idea. So go ahead and do that. And then instead of Save as GIF, you're going to go to Export. Because you're making a special type of file. So you're going to choose Save for Web, because a lot of GIFs live on the web. And then you've got to look at this stuff. You've got to make sure that this says GIF. It may not say GIF initially, like by default. It may have one of these other options chosen, so you want to make sure that you choose GIF, and then you want to go up here to Unnamed. This isn't that important, but I like to kind of minimize the file size, so I'll go up to GIF 128. 128 just means that's the number of colors it's going to have, so you're going to see this color table change. And then dithered, I'm actually not sure what that means, but if I don't know and I've made GIFs, I wouldn't worry about it. But you could look it up. It means something for sure. So there we go. So there's 128. It's 128 colors. The other thing with GIFs to make them play well is you want to change the file size. So like the max size in either height or width needs to be around 500, because if it's any bigger than that, it's just going to take a long time to load. So you can change this, like I can change it to 400. If these are linked, it's going to scale my GIF. But 500 is okay. And then you just hit save, and that's the save is just like any other save. So I'm going to change this to 2, or I might call it like head bounce or something, just so I know what it is, and save it to a place where you know where you can find it, desktop, documents, downloads, something like that, or if you have a folder for the class, you can do that. But that's that. So you'll save, and then you should just be able to find the file. Hopefully your desktop's less cluttered than this, but you'll find the file, and then you can double click it, and you can view it depending on the computer you have, so you'll see the keyframe animations. But if you drag your file instead to a browser, or you open a browser, it'll just play in the browser. So you can, if you can't just drag it to the browser, what you can do is like make your browser window a little smaller, and then drag and drop it, and it should start playing. And that's how you know your GIF works.